Welcome, I'm Lizzie Brooks and this is Lizzie Brooks Yoga and Fitness. Today's class is 15-minute floor weights. So we're gonna stay close to the ground with this. It won't be long, but it will be definitely impactful. So I have a variety of weights. You don't need a variety, it might help. Know that you can also do the moves with no weight if you get tired, or decrease or increase if you have those options. You can always use a plastic bottle with a wide lid with some sand or rocks and sand. Make sure the lid's on tight. Okay, the other thing you might need is a blanket or a towel to pad your knees. So we're actually gonna begin on all fours. So I do recommend padding the knees. And come into an all fours position. Reach the arms forward, reach the hips back, tuck your toes under, take a long, deep inhale, stretch back, sigh out. Just trying to stretch a little bit to get some blood flow going. Tuck the toes under, go to downward facing dog, root the palms down, sway your hips side to side. So getting into the hamstrings a little bit. Again, just a little preparation. I do recommend usually more preparation than one knee and then the other. But if you only have 15 minutes, this will do. But if you have a little more time, pause it, do a little more stretching, and then come back to me. Take a deep breath in, big sigh out, and lower slowly to the knees, slower than you want to go. That's how we like to do our transitions here at Lizzie Brooks Yoga and Fitness, because that makes us a lot stronger and more aware. So I always use less weight than I use in my daily regular routine so that I don't get as winded. So I would recommend on this one, and I guess I'll use this with you, I would recommend if you're newer, 5 and under. If you're pretty seasoned, 10 and above. So we want to draw the organs towards the spine like a shelf of support. From here, we'll start with not jutting the chin forward, and we'll take some rows. We're just going to lift and lower the weight. The elbow is not splaying to the side, but this time it's coming straight back. And we'll start to feel this through the core and the obliques, as well as the back, shoulder, a lot of things at work here. And what I want you to do, and this is harder, is I want you to put your weight down as softly as possible. So instead of slamming it down, you want to slow that moment all the way down, and especially right before the weight goes down. You will get stronger as a result of lowering the weight more softly. It's funny, there are so many things that actually give us more of a benefit, and that's one of them. Let's do one more. And then place the weights down. You can either keep your hands on the weights for your downward dog, or you can put your palms down. Deep breath in, sigh that out. Lower slowly back to the knees. Now, as we move to the triceps, again, because I'm videoing and I don't want to lose my breath completely, I'm going to move to a smaller amount of weight. I would do 5 and below if you're not really used to this or really lifting heavy, because the triceps are a smaller set of muscles, smaller muscle group. So, smaller muscle. Take the elbow back and then just start to do a bend and a straighten. Bend and a straighten. So the hand that's down, that can be on your weight or it can be palm down. Breathing here and taking it not into a swing, not like this, but keeping the upper portion of the arm nice and aligned alongside of your rib cage as you take this back and forward, back and back to a bend. Place the weight down and we'll go to the other side. And as a yoga teacher of 20 years, keep going, 22 years to be precise, I might call these weights blocks. I've been teaching weights for a long time too, but saying grab your block and do things with your block is pretty ingrained. So again, no swinging here. Check in with your abdominals. If you have sunk in the low back, draw the organs back up to the spine. And be very, very kind of deliberate about your movement, releasing any of that swinging if that's happening. Let's take 3, 2, 1, and place it down. We'll go to that child's pose to elongate the arms, elongate the spine. Deep breath comes in, and sigh that out. Okay, so for the glutes, you can either have two kind of medium weights like this, or you can use one heavier weight in between your hands, like so. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the two. Tuck your toes under, hang your weight or weights in front of you, and we're just gonna start to hinge the hips back, the arms stay straight, and we take them sort of diagonally forward in front of the knees, and as we unhinge the hips, the weights come back. So all of the movement is happening sort of at that hip hinge. Obviously the knees are bending as a result, but the things that we wanna make sure of are, one, we're not sliding the weights down the legs or touching them or keeping them even too close to the knees. Instead, the more diagonally out and towards the floor the weights go, the more that will work into the glutes, the hamstrings, and even the core. Up and down like so. And then the other thing we want to make sure of is that our heels aren't splaying way out or way in. So try to keep the ankles roughly, or the heels roughly straight up and down through this movement. If this is too much, you can always come into a bridge pose. If you're familiar with my yoga classes, into bridge, and you can bridge up and down holding a weight in front of you on your hips or with no weight at all. If that feels better for your knees, you'll still be working the glutes and hamstrings. All right, 3, 2, and last one. Whew, okay, done. We'll go ahead and place those to the sides and shake it out. Come into a downward dog momentarily. I always bring some stretch through my practices, as you know. Deep breath in, big sigh out. All right, now from here, take a small to mid-size weight. We have a long lever we're gonna do. So I do recommend, unless you're really strong and you do weights all the time, 5 or less pounds. Right hand down. You're going to take that weight in your left hand and push it forward. Push it, pull it back, push it forward, pull it back. This is going to be hugely shoulder and also core and obliques. Push forward, draw back, push forward, and draw back. Just one more time on those. And draw back. Whew. Shake out the arms, and we'll do the other side. If that was a little too much, you can skip and put the weight down or do a smaller weight or fewer reps. Organs towards the spine. Push, draw in. So again, anytime, and I'll remind you of this, but I probably don't have to, anytime you push the weight further away from you, the harder it becomes. A long lever away from the body is much harder to move than a lever that's shorter. 2 more. Last one. Go ahead and put that down. So we'll go ahead and do some bicep work here. You can do this in kneeling. You can do this seated, actually, but it'll change the way where your arms have to go, or you can actually do this standing. So I'm gonna let you choose. I would go medium weight for yourself. If you're a beginner, go light. And the reason why you can do this seated is because we're taking the arms out at a diagonal. So we're keeping the elbows in and taking the arms slightly diagonal rather than forward, like a classic form of bicep curl. Out and up. So there are different bicep muscles, it's not just one muscle. So that's why we change sometimes where we are going with the weight to get stronger in areas that maybe we're less strong in because we don't do it very often. Ooh, one more. Good. Hold that now, 90 degrees. 3, 2, 1. Make sure you're not hiking up the shoulders. All right, go ahead and release that. And then you'll just hold one weight in your hands and bring it up above you. So from here, you're just going to lift and lower and make sure you're not collapsing at the lumbar and jutting the rib cage forward. Just up and down here. And you might cross your legs in the other direction or put the weight down before you cross your legs in the other direction if you're not sitting on your heels or in hero pose. Up and down. Really feeling the shoulders and the triceps. And then we'll hold 90 degrees, draw the elbows a little closer together. Remember, we never want to be splaying in the tricep work. 3, 2, 1, all the way up and all the way down. Okay, we'll take that off to the side and come into a little blank for a moment. Come into a downward facing dog. Add a little movement there, add a little breath. We've got about 5 more minutes. We're gonna make sure we get into the body pretty good. So from here, you're going to take an all-fours position, again, pad the knees, and put a very light weight behind your left knee. You're gonna really wanna kind of hold on, so you have to activate the hamstrings here to hold on to that weight. If that doesn't work, do this movement with no weight, please. You'll still feel it. Organs towards the spine, lift and lower. So what we're not trying to do on this one for the glutes, for the core, for the hamstrings, is we're not looking to be speedy with this. We are looking for nice and slow. If you want to really get into the nitty-gritty and really get into the form of this, take some of your weight that is pushing over to the right and move it slightly to the left. Oh my goodness, that little trick right there. And you can play with that. Move some weight over to the right. See how that feels. Now move more of that weight over to the left. It doesn't mean moving your left knee to the left. It means moving your hips and your torso slightly in towards that direction, okay? Because we have a tendency to lean to the side where the weight isn't. 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Guess what? It's a plank pose. Come into plank and then alternately bend and straighten the knees in plank. Gonna get a little more core with this one, a little more heated, I can feel. So this room doesn't really get much AC at all. I should have pumped it up and tried to get some in here before I started. Okay, lesson learned. Take the weight behind that opposite knee. This one's my right. Draw the organs towards the spine and we'll start our lifting and lowering without momentum, without that high speed. Yeah, so what happens sometimes is we collapse at the lumbar in order to try to get the knee higher. We don't want to do that. I'd rather see a smaller range of motion than a collapsed lumbar spine here. And then you can try it out, guys. So I can already feel that there is a good amount of weight in my left knee and in my left hand, more than my right hand. So because of that, I'm just going to move my torso, my whole trunk over to the right about 1 inch. And then, oh yeah, that's going to make me engage through my core differently, and I'll probably get a better benefit as far as my built strength goes. So notice in all of these things that we do together, making little tweaks can make it tougher, but in turn give you a better benefit of strength. 3, 2, 1. Oh, hallelujah, that's done. Downward dog or child's pose, not a plank this time. We really want to stretch those hamstrings. If you're taking that downward dog, you can even widen your stance. And I love to do this sway side to side. Lower the knees down. You can put your hips on the mat or on a blanket, but if you're on the blanket, make sure it's not skinny and that it's open wide enough, because we're going to tilt back to use some work into the core. If you have any low back issues, you're just going to stay either with a weight or no weight, going forward and back, rolling a little down and a little up, okay? A little down, a little up. Legs can even be straight with that. If you are ready for some twist, you'll take a medium to heavy weight. Knees will be bent, soles of the feet to the floor. You're going to take the weight to the side, up, up. Now, you can lower and come up, and lower and come up, or you can stay nice and tall in the spine and take it side to side, center, or side and down, center, side and down, center. So I want you to be able to play with different pathways and different movement patterns and see that by tweaking it again, just a bit, we can change how we're working our bodies. One more each side. Now, come into a cross-legged position or any position that works and press that weight up. And then from here, this is our finishing work. It's going to be a lot smaller movement than we were doing before. I might recommend taking a smaller weight with this. We're going to get into the shoulder girdle by just circling our weight around from the shoulders, and then reverse that. This movement is coming from the shoulders. It's not coming from the torso. It's not coming from the hips. Coming from the shoulders, circle around. You'll feel that the core, the whole trunk in the back have to work, as well as the shoulders. And then hold it, bring it in, and lower it down. Whew. All right, well, that was about 15 minutes of weights, and because we did it so continuously and without a lot of break, it was probably pretty impactful. And if you're just starting, 15 minutes is really all you need. Work up from there. Make sure that you hydrate, not only after the weights, but before. We want our muscle fibers to have all of what they need, not only for hydration, but also for waste removal and lactic acid removal. And lactic acid is not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually good for our brains. So building some of that up is not a bad thing. But as far as soreness goes, you'll want to help wash it out. I would also recommend eating something within the hour that has protein, or taking some high quality amino acids or a protein powder of your choosing anytime you do weights. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. Ask any questions you have in the comments. Namaste.